Hi, I'm Chike Coleman from the Wheelchair Watcher, and that's Chuck Koplinski from the Illinois Times and News Gazette. And this is the Row Reviews Cinematic Underground, the show where we talk about movies that are new in theaters, and sometimes we talk about TV a little bit too, or stuff that's on Netflix. And this week we're going to be covering two films. The first of which is a film called Burnt, starring Bradley Cooper, Sienna Miller, directed by John Wells, and the second, 007 Spectre, directed by Sam Mendes. Starring Daniel Craig, Lea Seydoux, and
Monica Bellucci.
And the guy from I'm trying to remember the guy from Sherlock. What's the guy from Sherlock's name? He played Moriarty in Sherlock.
I do not watch Sherlock. All I know is Ralph Fiennes is in the film, as is Christoph Waltz.
This is Christoph Waltz, yes. So let's talk about the first film in this lineup, and it's Burnt, starring Bradley Cooper and Sienna Miller. Chuck, you want to give a synopsis, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Bradley Cooper plays a chef, a genius chef, who has self-destruction problems. He's his own worst enemy. Apparently, he was going to take the culinary world by storm a few years back, but then, of course, he gets into a spiral of drugs, women, alcohol, and self-destructive behavior, which I guess is common in chefs who are going to take the culinary world by storm. Of course, but in this film, he's back. He's back. He's going to resurrect his career, and he's going to do so by taking over a restaurant from a friend of his, an old acquaintance played by Danielle Brühl from Rush. He is reluctant to give him the restaurant, but does because he has a crush on the Cooper character, which comes into play later. He's temperamental, of course, as I guess all chefs are supposed to be. I guess from every chef program I've watched, throwing fits in the kitchen is de rigueur for what you do there, and there are no shortage of those. And Sienna Miller plays a fellow chef, a saucier, I believe, who gets into his orbit and, of course, is attracted to his bad boy behavior and his genius. Of course, Mr. Cooper cannot escape his past. There are a couple drug dealers after him who he owes a great deal of money for, and a lost love who pops up as well. But of course, can he open the restaurant? Can he resurrect his career? That, of course, is the question.
Okay, so I watched this movie completely blank, but I had a little bit of history with Bradley Cooper in a chef-type role, as in early 2000s he did a failed television show inspired by Anthony Bourdain's early kitchen career called Kitchen Confidential. Along the same lines as this film, but more of a comedy than a drama. I feel as though chef movies have two paths. They can either teach you something about food and yourself, or they can go down this stereotypical path, as you say, of chefs who are angry or get soaked up in drugs, sex, and women, and all those things. I feel as though this film took the latter path, and I felt like I would have more fun rewatching the film Limitless, which basically shot Cooper to stardom originally, than I would watching Burnt ever again, because everything here is very straightforward. You can see everything coming from a mile away, except for that crush you just mentioned. For me, I don't feel any connective thoughts towards Cooper's character as he goes along this journey of self-discovery.
He's not sympathetic at all.
Of you know, eventually learning, oh, being a team is what makes this whole thing work. There's nothing about that makes it compelling. I would rather sit and watch Ratatouille than watch Burn again. There's nothing that...
Don't bring Ratatouille down to that level, though. Ratatouille is a great film.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie, and there's lots of heart here, and I guess that's what I was missing that I got from movies like Chef when I saw it. There's a lot of heart, there's a lot of unique relationships to play at, but you don't really get any of that here, and really that's the crux of my problem with this film.
You know, you just mentioned Chef, a movie I did not like, but in mentioning it, something just clicked with me as you talked about it, is that at least there seems to be a bit of joy in the Favreau's character in making the food. And it just occurred to me, I don't get that sense here as well. Even if he's supposed to be a great chef and is going to save the day with his cooking, I don't get the sense that he enjoys making the food. So
Right.
thank you for bringing that up, because
Right.
that's a good connection.
There's a very good example of what I mean about that in one of the first scenes of the film when he goes to talk to this guy about, becoming a part of his, entourage of his chef team. He says, "Hey, would you pay me to, do chef stuff for you for $100, for $200, for $300? And lastly, hey, do you have a spare room? Because I need a place to stay." And immediately what we see is him cooking, and he cooks food, and he brings it, and he just rattles it off. There's no passion in what he's describing to you. And that's what I felt about this film overall. It's just passionless. When you look at the food in Chef, it's gorgeously shot. You want to eat it. You want to learn how to be as inventive of a food person yourself if you're not that good of a cook in the kitchen. Those kinds of things are the things that enlighten someone to be like food movies and like food reality shows. But there's none of that passion here that says, oh, you know what, even though he's an a-hole, you know what, he really truly does have a love and a commitment for food. You don't even really get a lot of backstory into how he first loved food, really, and that's another problem for me in the film.
Yeah, it's all about his ego.
Yeah.
It's not about the food, it is about his ego.
It's ego and nothing else, and that's, to me, what makes this film really, truly fail.
I will give it one prop, though. There's a twist in the third act I did not see coming.
Indeed.
Which I thought, wow, that was clever, and you got me there. And it made sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of left field. So I got to give it prop for that little twist. But yeah, it's how about this? It's a flavorless film.
Ooh. I love that pun. What else did you not like about it other than?
Well, I think you hit the nail. I think there's too much going on too. We don't need the drug dealers from the past chasing this guy down. There's enough on his plate. See what I did there? Going on here, and we don't need that. His interactions with the people in the kitchen, his interactions with himself, and trying to pull this together is more than enough. And I felt that was an unnecessary distraction.
Right, and the other thing I was going to say is you look at other film movies. There's a film movie that came out in 1998, I think 99, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar. Have you ever heard of this? Simply Irresistible, starring Gellar and Sean Patrick Flannery.
No.
And it's basically about her making baked goods, and the baked good that she makes has this effect of inspiring passion and joy and love in people when they eat her food.
So this is a very low-rent Babette's Feast, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, with a little bit of a romantic comedy angle thrown in.
Okay.
And I feel like when you watch them, again, it's all about how they treat the food and themselves and where their passion comes from, and you see none of that in Burnt. And that's why I really didn't like this film. I give it 1 out of 5 stars. One of Cooper's worst performances where I feel like he's just phoning it in.
Very obvious, yeah. Simply Irresistible, 1999, also with Patricia Clarkson, available through Amazon for $2.99.
Well, thank you for that
1999
promotion.
No problem.
So that was our thoughts on Burnt.
The last movie that Gene Siskel reviewed before his death, he gave it a thumbs down.
Really?
That's what it says here.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know. So the second movie that we're reviewing today is the 51st Bond film, is that correct?
No.
No,
it would
not.
be the 24th Bond film.
24th
I
Bond
believe
film.
this would be the 53rd year of the franchise. It starts in '62.
Okay.
Now, this is the 24th Bond film, but there are 2 other Bond films that aren't included in this series. So there's actually 26 Bond films. There's the Casino Royale debacle that was made in the 60s.
Right.
And then there was the Sean Connery offshoot Never Say Never Again, which was made in 1983, I believe, which is not considered part of this series.
I have a question about that, though.
Yeah.
For Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
So it was not an official Broccoli production.
Correct.
But what caused them to make this film in the first place?
Okay, here we go.
I just want to get that out.
No, yeah, it's a little complicated. This actually is Thunderball. When you go back and you look at Thunderball, the film he made in '64 or '65, I believe, it's basically the same plot. But what happened was that Ian Fleming worked with another writer on the original Thunderball story. I can't remember what the guy's name was. But he sued and said that he had co-rights to that story, so that allowed him then to shop that script around, which he did. And he redid the script as Warhead, which was the name of the film. And he was able to actually get financing to do this film away from the Broccolis, because he, after a long, prolonged court battle, he was given the rights of that one story. I don't know how it was that he actually talked Connery into doing it.
That would be an interesting,
You know, and of course there's the pun of the title, Never Say Never Again, because
he
Connery
said he was
he's
never going to come back.
never going to do it again after Diamonds Are Forever. That's an interesting story that I'm not too up on, but I believe that that also came out the same year as Octopussy. There were 2 Bond films that year. And so that's why. It was because all the way back to the original story, Ian Fleming and this other guy worked on it, and so he was able to take the rights to that and go with it.
I wonder which film did better. I'm curious about that now.
I'm going to go Octopussy, but while you're talking, I'm going to look it up.
Okay,
Or
so
maybe I just like saying Octopussy. I'm not sure.
it might be that.
An underrated film, by the way, Octopussy.
I would agree. I just recently
Not that
watched
bad.
that as well.
Yeah.
Because I needed a palate cleanser for this pile of crap. And this pile of crap
Don't
that
hold back.
I'm talking about is Spectre, directed by Sam Mendes, starring Daniel Craig, Monica Bellucci, Christoph Waltz.
Is Monica Bellucci in that film?
Yes.
Because you blink and you miss her.
Yeah, she's there for like 5 seconds. Leah Seydoux, and let's see, Ben Whishaw, and Ralph Fiennes as the new M, and I think that Andrew something is his name. His last
Andrew something, that's it.
name. Oh, it's gonna get to me.
I know it will.
And anyway, this film is based on the idea that Bond is in Mexico City trying to track down this guy for an assassination, and he finds, once he kills this guy, that there's this ring that leads to this organization called Spectre, that's led by this guy named Oberhauser. Is it Oberhauser or Obenhauser?
Oberhaus, I believe.
Oberhauser, which is Christoph Waltz character, and he realizes over time, as Bond is trying to do a last favor for a character from earlier Bond films, Mr. White, protecting his daughter, Dr. Madeline Swan, that Oberhauser and James himself have a connection, a link to James's past, and now it's James's mission to stop Spectre. There's also a subplot that really makes no difference to me here, involving the dismantling of the 007 program, which is stolen, in my opinion, directly from Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and how the 007 program is outdated and we need to be looking more towards technology than men on the ground. So here's the thing. If you look at Spectre as a straight-up action movie and you dismiss the story entirely, you're going to enjoy this film, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But if you dismiss this film as just a straight-up action movie, you'll be okay watching it. If you look at it as a Bond film, there are small bits of problems throughout. I'll give you one example, Chuck, since you seem to be in mild disagreement. And yes, before we hop into your opinion, I did read your review, so I do have an idea, a semblance
we're kinda on the same
of your
page.
thoughts. They have this scene where they implant Bond with a chip to track his location and make sure that Bond's all right no matter what, underneath the nose of M. This is something they did in the first Daniel Craig James Bond movie, in Casino Royale. Same exact idea. The stealing of the Aston Martin DB10, I think it is, happens, I believe, in a previous film in the Daniel Craig series. I don't know which one. Skyfall. He does the same thing in Skyfall, the previous film. So they're ripping off of every other entry in the Daniel Craig series, which really upsets me because there's no deeper insight into who Bond is as a person, which is what made Casino Royale, in my mind, so successful. You saw this man's humanity, even though he had a license to kill already, fade because of what happened to him at the end of Casino Royale. You saw him become the cold killer that he is. But we really got no lift from that in Quantum. We got a little bit of insight into who Bond was as a younger person in Skyfall, at least some history of his home and his heritage, which was nice because we didn't have that in previous entries. But But in Spectre, all of that is dismissed for a straight-up Pierce Brosnan-related looking mess of a film. You have, is it Binks or Minks? I never say it correctly, for the henchman.
I don't know. He was disposable. I didn't catch the name.
Okay. But he has one good scene in the very middle 30 minutes of the film where he is entering into a secret meeting in Spectre, and that was a bit jarring, but beyond that, it's really the only shock of the film. And by the time you learn Oberhauser's actual motive for going after Bond so fiercely over these last 4 films, you're just sitting there like, really? Really, that's what you want to do? That's what you want to go with? That's the reason why you want to cause Bond so much pain? It's literally the thinnest reason for, this is why I want to kill you, that I've ever seen in a movie in my entire life. It's fiercely upsetting. And as you said, a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Spectre?
Well, I think the only thing I disagree with you is that if you would like it as an action film, I didn't think there was one memorable action sequence in the film. The car chase was incredibly dull and ends with a whimper. The airplane thing down the side of the mountain was okay, but not up to Bond standards by any means. The opening thing with the helicopter is pretty good, but they've risen the bar so much on the action stuff that all this stuff came off as real dull to me. This is a movie that spins its wheels. I mean, it is the longest film in the series I read at almost 2.5 hours, and it feels like it.
Yeah.
It feels like it. That first 90 minutes, nothing is really happening.
Yeah.
Until we finally get to the girl, and then things are supposed to start picking up speed there. But I mean, it goes nowhere, and it really doesn't. And not only you make a good point of them ripping off things from the Craig films, but they also are borrowing from the Connery films and the Moore films. I mean, the fight on the train is right out of From Russia with Love.
Exactly.
The bad guy, played by Bautista, is supposed to be like Oddjob from Goldfinger.
Correct.
He doesn't have the hat, but he's without the hat, he's still the same guy. And there's a missed opportunity. If anyone should play a memorable Bond villain, it's Bautista.
Exactly.
He's perfect for it, and they blew that opportunity as well. He whips off a Roger Moore-type quip at one point that is completely out of place. He's beating up 2 security guys, and he's going to punch another guy, and, he goes, stay.
Yeah, don't.
And it's like, wait a second, that's a Roger. And I don't understand that, because I think with Skyfall, Mendes and him put their distinctive stamp on the series. I felt that, a lot of people compared that to The Dark Knight, and that we finally get the background. It was dark, it was gritty. I was like, oh, you guys are really going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And with this one, they take a huge step backwards, and I don't understand it at all. I got the impression as I was watching this, you guys didn't have an idea, and you were pressured into doing this film.
Yeah,
and because it does not, and you're going to tell me that at the end of the movie, he's going to hang up the gun and go off with her?
Yeah.
Her? This is not a woman. This is a girl. Okay, I never felt as though, I think she was among the worst Bond women, because she's not, I wasn't convinced at all that she was strong or independent. He should be going off with Monica Bellucci. That's a mature woman. That's someone that's going to get you to change. And that's what we're supposed to, that's implied at the end. I didn't buy that at all.
Okay, so here's the thing for me about the Bond girls of this film. I found Bellucci, though she had 5 seconds of screen time, really intensely compelling, because she knew the stakes of what she was in.
And she's a great actress, and she has presence.
Yeah.
She's a movie star.
Right.
You run off with her at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Not just because she's gorgeous.
Now go to Léa Seydoux. This is an actress who, for the audience that doesn't know, she was in the Cannes-winning film Blue is the Warmest Color, which is a lesbian teen drama. I mentioned before air that I tried watching the first 20 minutes of that film, and I just couldn't get through it. The same thing with her here. She has what could be possibly the most standout scene entrance for a Bond girl, in that she's getting a chance
to quite
do
an entrance.
An extensive psychological evaluation of Bond, much in the same way that they did for Skyfall, but you have a woman turning the tables on Bond.
Oh, I think we're thinking of 2 different things, but
which
go ahead.
Is distinctly unique for her to be able to say, okay, you know what, this is your problem. I know you're up to something. But it really, like you said, goes nowhere.
And that, by the way, that lair of hers is a direct ripoff of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the hideout in that film too, which is another Spectre movie. And the other missed opportunity here, as you point out, I think the best thing in the film is Christoph Waltz. He's usually the best thing in any movie he's in.
Right.
And he is great. I mean, he does great things with what he's given.
See,
but then, as you point out, his motivation, it's the motivation of a pissed off teenager, not a guy who runs a global terrorist organization. It makes no sense. And I felt bad because that was another missed opportunity. He deserved a better film.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think he's the best in the movie. Here's the reason I don't think he's the best in the movie. Because usually when you have a villain like that, you see a huge amount of malicious, violent intent. It could be just one scene, and it's there, and you have him doing the one thing that makes you feel really uncomfortable and uneasy, making you think, I don't know where this guy is going, but you have that one violent, really typical, dangerously dark moment with the villain that really shows you, oh, this dude is not to be messed with. You do not want to cross. I felt none of that.
Yeah, see, I felt that he had such presence that he had other people do his dirty work.
True.
But then he does do that with Bond.
A little bit.
Later in the film, I mean, that's nothing to be messed with, I don't think. You know, I read an interesting article, and I'm trying to think, I think it was in Rolling Stone, and they had a very interesting theory about this, saying that the success of the Marvel films had a direct influence on this. This guy contended that when they made Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, even though they are connected, that there really wasn't a plan to connect all four of these. And that really in this one, they're bending over backwards to show the connections. And as I read that, I was like, you know what? I think you're on to something. Because, as he says, he's got the great line, I'm the architect of all your pain. It's very quickly glossed over.
Yeah, it's
that,
four
okay,
images of all the villains.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I need more information there. How'd you do this again? How is this connected? And when I was reading this article, that made sense because they throw that out there, but it's not explained fully.
They do that.
We're just supposed to take it and run with it.
They do that in Quantum as well. Once
Yeah.
once you get to the end of Casino Royale and you get to Quantum, that's the first thing they show you
find
is,
it.
oh, we killed the Algerian boyfriend of Vesper now because he's
See, I can't remember
an
that
a-hole.
because I was bored by Quantum. I checked out of that one about. And is it me or was the set here of the lair, was that the same set as in Quantum? Or is it close?
I feel like it
was
is.
really
I
close.
feel like it is.
I don't know about this, but I would bet the same production designer. Because you know what I'm talking about. The thing out in the desert in Quantum, and then the
Yes.
thing in the crater here.
Yes.
It's like, wait a second.
Uh-huh.
Did you just kind of tack things up again and we're going to go with this? And I was stunned when I read that this cost $300 million.
Yeah, I was shocked.
I mean, I knew the budget would be high, but $300 million?
What do they spend that on?
I don't
On the
know.
opening shot?
Well, I don't know, because I'm trying to think back, because anything that drives budgets that high are usually computer effects.
Right.
And I was thinking back, and I couldn't really place anything CGI elaborate. Maybe I missed something.
Maybe the thing with the collapsing of the building.
That was a pretty cool fact. I will say that. But yeah, I don't know. And I don't know, maybe someone can explain this fuzzy math to me, because I read it's $300 million budget, and that includes the advertisement. But they have to break at 650 to break even. They have to bring in 650 to break even on a three. That's not why that's why I'm not an accountant, I guess.
I just don't get. What would you do to change it to make this better? Can I ask
don't know.
that?
I don't know, but I think that if you're going to connect them, you've really got to keep going on this whole thing of delving into his past in a more legitimate manner, as they did with Skyfall. I can't, and it just seemed to me as though they were having fun in Skyfall.
Yeah.
I can't get past that opening chase and train sequence in Skyfall. I think is one of the best openings they ever had in the series.
I agree.
And there's nothing that touches that here. I don't know what you do. I hate to say it because I think he does a good job with the role, but I think it's time to start over again, and we've got to get a new actor in there.
Who would you choose?
I don't know. There's quite a few choices out there. I know they were talking about Idris Elba, and I would not have a problem with that.
I know who I don't want. I don't want Henry Cavill.
No, I don't want Henry Cavill either. He's just a bit too stiff. But yeah, no, I think that, and I don't like the guy from Homeland. What's his name?
Damian Lewis?
Damian Lewis. He doesn't strike me as Bond at all.
No,
he just
not
seems
at all.
too lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a shame if this is his last movie to go out on this note, because I think there were 2 highlights of the entire series with him.
I hope it's not.
Me too.
And for me, the one thing I would change, I would just make. They said they wanted to do a architecture while you're paid. Have that weaved in there somehow. Have there be small things that we didn't know that were there,
Right.
that you can now point back to and say, see, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this. Now, bam.
Well, and then they leave that open here. I mean, they do leave him alive, which I thought was a good thing. But if they can pick up the pieces and go for there, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I really don't.
either.
So that was our review of Skyfall. I believe you gave it 2?
2.
I'm going to go with you and keep it 2 as well.
Yeah.
But we have something we're really excited about, and that is The Flash. Oh my gosh, the things that they've been doing with The Flash this season. I've been surprised at how much I've loved this season so far.
I've been surprised on how often I've been surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, they just when you kind of think you know where we're headed, they turn it around on you where something out of left field comes that makes sense. But, I think it is, and I've said this before, I think I just get wrapped up so much in the characters. I like everyone on the show. That, I almost kind of get distracted by that I can be surprised by a weird plot turn. And the last couple have been very dark and very entertaining.
They give Cisco a moment of vulnerability with the whole vibe.
And he delivered, 2 weeks ago, he delivered the greatest line of dialogue ever uttered on a television program.
Which was?
Our Dr. Wells is evil, but you're just a dick. That was brilliant. I laughed for 5 minutes. It was great.
Yeah.
And I hope this kid has a career after this show, because he is. I always wait. There's always a moment every episode where he's got something, and he's great. He's great. The whole show, I love it.
Yeah. I have to say the episode that most touched me so far, although there have been 2 that really got me, was the Captain Cold reunion with the sister.
That was better than I thought.
Because of what they did with Peyton List's character of the sister.
Yeah.
And revealing the abusive backstory of Captain Cold's father.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that sincere moment. I love, what was the one that I just saw? I haven't seen Intra-Zoom yet, which is episode 6.
Well, and a lot of these shows hinge on how good your villains are. And the villains have been great. And we were talking before this, Professor Zoom, his arch enemy. This is a frightening character. And like I say, it's gotten a little darker, and I want to get the backstory here. I know it from the comics. I want to see how they change things. And we've got Gorilla Grodd coming up again as well.
Yeah, and we got King Shark in a
cameo. That was great.
Well, yes, exactly what I want.
So they're getting it all right.
And I have to say that I have to point this out. I love what they did with not Barry Allen, the other one.
Jay Garrick.
Jerry Garrick.
Yeah,
the fact that they decided not to give him his speed and to make him homesick.
Yeah.
It made him extremely relatable.
Yeah.
Extremely relatable. And what they did with Linda Park last week and showcasing her villain power, amazing there. And the fact that Barry had to go without sight, and the fact that the editor of the Picture News was accidentally murdered by Park's doppelganger.
And Barry's new love interest, incredibly appealing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing but good stuff to say about this. It's one of the few shows where every week I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Just amazing and incredible. There's a lot to love about The Flash, and I'm really worried about the movie as well now.
Not even thinking about it.
You're not? Oh.
I got the TV show. That's all I need.
Okay, fair enough. So what movies are you excited for in the coming weeks that we'll probably be touching on?
I'm excited about Room. I'm excited about Spotlight. Those are coming up very soon. I'm excited about those.
And I want to see Truth. I didn't get to see Truth. No?
No, you don't.
No? Okay. What about Peanuts? Can we at least get a nod for Peanuts?
Peanuts was okay.
Okay, fine.
If you've seen any of the old TV specials, you've seen the movie.
Yeah, I would kind of agree from what I've seen in the trailers. I have not seen it yet, but I am mildly excited. And I love that they used the original voice of Snoopy and Woodchuck in the film. And we're able to get that voice acting done. That is all for our show this week for Real Reviews, the Cinematic Underground. Be sure to check out Chuck's reviews at thenewsgazette.com or the Illinois Times. Be sure to check out my reviews at wheelchairwatcher.com. And until then, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.